Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Formula One has given us some legendary battles over the past years, since the early 1990s, something, 1970s, 1950s even, until now. But one of the most exciting fights in recent memory, I underline that, in recent memory, was Ferrari versus McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. So this chart right here shows their season-long battle, and let me tell you, it was incredibly close. At some points, McLaren looked unbeatable, but Ferrari fought back. And in the end, we got a shocking 163 tie. So today, I'm going to break down how this battle unfolded, race by race, and what it tells us about these two iconic teams. Let's dive in. So first, before we explain the whole chart thingy, I will explain to you on how to read the chart. So this is basically a segment where we're gonna understand the chart. So I'm gonna zoom in. Before we go race by race, let's quickly go over to how to read this chart. So I'm gonna explain teams and colors. Ferrari is represented by red, of course, and McLaren is in orange, which is their team colors. The circles mark their total points after each race. And then second, which are the y-axis, which represent points. It shows the total number of points they've earned, and on the higher graph means more points. And then the x-axis, which is the races, represents each Grand Prix of the season and where the Grand Prix is held at. At the bottom, you'll see flags of the countries where the races took place. So, for example, on the first race, which is Bahrain, and then the last one is in the Abu Dhabi GP. And how to spot the key moments is a steep upward line means a team had a strong race, scoring lots of points. A flat line means they didn't score at all, or maybe they didn't score as much. And when lines cross or get close, it means the battle is tightening. So for the early season, McLaren takes the lead. Now, let's start from the beginning. The opening races of the season. Their first race was held in Bahrain. McLaren gave 18 points and Ferrari 12 points. Not that far. Not a massive gap, but McLaren immediately establishes a lead. And in Italy, Ferrari fights back a little, closing the gap to just 7 points. McLaren is still ahead with 41 points, while Ferrari has 34. And in Portugal and in Spain, McLaren reaches 80 points, Ferrari to 78. The battle is now incredibly close. These races were critical because Ferrari was catching up fast. So I'm going to slow zoom here. At this stage, it's clear that both teams were evenly matched. McLaren had the early advantage, but Ferrari wasn't going back down without a fight. Here is the mid-season shift. Ferrari strikes back. As we move into the mid-season, we start to see big momentum shifts. And in the fifth and sixth race, boom! For the first time, Ferrari catches McLaren at 94 points each. This is a major turning point. Ferrari was gaining momentum. And in Austria and Britain, McLaren fights back, climbing to 110 points, while Ferrari stays at 94 points for a little while. This is one of McLaren's strongest moments. They pull ahead again, but Ferrari is about to respond in a big way. And in the final showdown, let's get into the final stretch of the season, the most exciting part. In Hungary and Netherlands, which is races 9 and 10, McLaren scores 141 points and Ferrari 122 points. It looks like McLaren might just take the championship. And then the final races, race 11 and 12, which is Ferrari's comeback. Ferrari closes the gap fast, reaching 148 points, and McLaren is at 163, still ahead. And in the last race, the tie. Ferrari somehow pulls off the impossible. They finish at 163 points, tying McLaren. Boom. Cool, right? After an entire season of battling back and forth, the two teams end with the exact same points. That's almost unheard of in F1. So what does this battle tell us? About Ferrari and McLaren. Yeah, I have three key points. Momentum shifts matter. One good race can change everything. You can't tell whether your car is gonna do good at the race or not. So each race is such an important uh, momentum to keep up the championship points. And never count a team out. Ferrari was behind multiple times, but never gave up. There was always a way Ferrari came back with a lot of points. And tied battles are incredibly rare. This is one of the most thrilling constructor fights in recent memory. Now I want to hear from you. Which team do you think had the better season? Maybe in performance, their drivers, or their constructor points? Who do you think deserved the championship? Let me know in the comments. So that's all for the little explaining of the constructors battle. And personally, let me know. Are you a Tifosi or a papaya? Let me know. Because personally, I like both. They're both cool. So I think that's all for the presenting my chart. I hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoy a little scene of their fight back in 2024. Goodbye and see you guys in my next video. Bye bye, Tifosis and papayas.